Why choose raw milk compared to the pasteurized milk? It is because raw milk were far more nutritious compared to the pasteurized milk. It is because things like water soluble vitamins such as like vitamin C, vitamin B1 to 12, like folates, they are really sensitive to the heat, which basically they can easily degrade. They will lose the bioavailable when they are exposed to the heat, especially like if you allow high pasteurization, which high heat, which reduce significantly the amount of nutrients. So why choose raw milk? It is because it's far more nutritious. Things like water soluble amino acids, things like taurines, what has an anti-glycative effect, which basically was an anti-glycation effect. And also it has like myostatin inhibition effect, which that means it's really super anabolic, really very conducive to building muscle. It is because myostatin inhibition effect is it increase your muscle mass, improve your strength during the exercise, and also like make it very conducive for the recovery for the muscles. Very super anabolic. And also taurine was like body master osmolyte, which that means it regulates your electrolytes very well, intra and extracellularly, which basically it regulates your electrolyte like potassium and your sodium in your cells. They regulates your electrolytes very well. That's taurine, really important there. Even though our body can synthesize it, but having it in the diet is very beneficial. Taurine was like really important for the body. It's like really beneficial. But other than that, like the waters, the other vitamins that you lost during the pasteurization, and also pasteurized milks like reduce IGF-1 like 30 to 40%, while high pasteurization milk is reduce IGF-1 like 90%. And if you look at it, why choose like raw milk over like pasteurized milk? It is because far more nutritious. The thing is, other people might say that what about the pathogens? What about the bacteria? What about the germs? To say that is literally because maybe you get the source of the milk is a low quality mix, which basically you get the milk from the shitty farm factory, which basically they treat the animals, they treat the cows like so treat badly. They treat the cows, they fed the cows with grains, which basically they are not adapted to that. Even though the cow can still surviving eating grains, but doesn't mean it's optimally healthy for them. Which basically cow meant to adapt to eating grass and get some sun exposure to get the vitamin D. But this like most milk that you got especially from the store, which basically they comes from like low quality like factory farm, which basically they fat the grain fat makes them sick. So basically you get the milks from the cow that are sick. That's why you have like allergies or whatever it is, because you're consuming a milk from a sick cow. And if you think about analogy, do you think cow cooking their milk, to give their like infant, to give their like baby cow? Of course not. What about humans? Is it our mother is like breastfeeding us? They're cooking the milk first and then they're giving to us later. No, they just like consuming it like raw from literally straight to the titties. They are not like cooking the milk because a lot of like heat sensitive that's still nutritious for our body. So that's why the analogy is, do you think our mother cooking the milk that fed to us? Same thing with the cow. Do you think he cooking the milk because he want to kill all the bacteria, all the germs for their baby cow? Same thing our mother. Do you think our mother cooking the milk to reduce the pathogen, to kill all the bacteria so that we safe to consume it? It's not logic. We are meant to consuming like raw milk because there's many compounds that really heat sensitive. For example, is if you like overcook the milk, the nutrition is just gone, and also what you left is just like left, just like even though fat soluble vitamins would remain same, but the thing is, things like vitamin C is essential. Vitamin B, especially vitamin B12. Our body needs like B12 per day a lot, and you only can get that in animals' foods, including like dairy too, especially raw dairy. So, and if you look our physiology, our stomach acids, which basically at like 1.5 or to 2, which basically it as was like a scavenger level. Which scavenger level is like a type of organism that eating that animals that have been killed by other organisms. For example, lion kill zebra, and hyenas or other animals or wolves or something like that. They eating the animals that have been killed by the lion, which basically probably like a bit rotten, a bit high in bacteria and germs. So our stomach acid is literally at a scavenger level. So if you so worry about like bacteria, the thing is our body can get rid of it. And also, if you get from the high quality, you should like no overthinking at all. If you get from the high quality from the farm, from literally straight from the farm, you literally get the healthy cow, you get the milk from the healthy cow, the eating grass that they are eating, and also they are like exposed to the sun, get the vitamin D, so you should not getting worried about that. But if you are an adult, and the thing is, if you want to become optimally healthy, and you are adult, you are not like teenager, you are not like in developing, which basically you are an adult, which basically you, having a dairy, even though raw dairy, it's still beneficial, it's still like nutritious, but it's not like optimally healthy. It is because raw dairy has a casein protein, and casein protein is literally really, it's not really, but still inflammatory to our body. The thing is, there's no reason for you to consuming raw dairy, even though it's still nutritious, but it's still not optimally healthy. It is because the casein protein. But if you are like in developing, you are still teenager, having a raw dairy is very conducive to for the bone and also for the growth. It's like a cheat code if you want to grow taller. A lot of like influencer that very tall, like 6'5" foods, like 6'4", very tall. They literally consuming a lot of like raw milk. For example, like Austin Wayne, and also there's a one YouTuber called Face IQ, which his name is Frost. There are a lot of them like consuming high amount of raw milk during the teenage years. So basically, even though it's still inflammatory, but the thing is, it's really conducive for you, for the teenager, for growing, for the infants, for the kids. But if you're like adult, you already like stop developing. Having it is like there's no reason because you get all the nutrients you need from the beef. So basically, from the meats, ruminant animals, flesh and fat. So raw milk, having a raw meat is not optimal. You can, but it's not optimal healthy if you really care about being optimal, which basically is still inflammatory to us. The difference is people always say that A2 milk, like A2 raw milk, was like far better. was like, it's like people always like pedestalize it. People always thinking like it's like really super healthy, but doesn't mean like the difference of like A2 and A1. It's just like they still, both of these have casein protein, which still inflammatory to our body. But the difference is A2 and A1 is A2 less inflammatory than A1. So basically A1 far more inflammatory, while A2 less inflammatory. But still, they have both casein protein and still inflammatory to our body. So if you want to consume raw dairy, yeah, maybe some of it is still enjoyable, but the thing is still addictive, which basically can make you easier to overeat. So if you're like your goals in want to being lean, the thing is they have a lactose which convert to glucose, and consuming in high amount we will like overeat, which basically if you want to goal is being lean, having a little bit of dairy is fine, but not like over too much, because the glucose will be like spike your blood sugar, not spike but a bump, which still can block the leptin and upregulates the ghrelin hormone, which ghrelin hormone is a hungry hormone and leptin hormone is a satiety hormone. So if you're an adult and you want to be lean, having having a little or no carbs is okay. But while you like developing, when you are like during the teenage years, having too much of it still a bit problem, because you're gonna like makes you overeat, because it has lactose which convert to glucose, and it can fuck up your leptin hormone, your satiety hormone. It can block it, through the insulin hormone. So basically, if you are a teenager, basically you have to consuming high quality raw milk, moderate amount, not like high amount, moderate amount. So I mean that's it. Hope it's really valuable. Peace. If your goal is to being attractive, it's literally you have to being healthy first. It is because you want to fix your skin issues, you want to fix your body fat. It just all relies on the diet mostly. And it is because if you have a lot of problems, for example, is you want to trying to eat carnivore diet, but the thing is your parents like against you. They say cholesterol is really bad. They say that saturated is really bad, even though there's a new study that shows that it's really crucial and it's essential, and there's no problem in high amount. So all the problems I will solve there, and all my nutrition guide I will support you. Link the description below, where I have a guide that teach you all the knowledge you need and also solve all the problems which basically that hinder your goals to achieve the to being optimally healthy in the diet. So link in the description below.